My flashlight's beam danced nervously over the yellowed pages of Grandfather's diary, casting long shadows that flickered like ghosts along the peeling wallpaper. I swallowed hard, the stale air thick with dust and the faint scent of rusted metal and forgotten laughter. Every creak and groan of the abandoned amusement park outside rattled in my chest, a steady reminder that I was far from the safety of the world I knew. Turning the fragile page carefully, I traced the familiar scrawl of his handwriting. The journal was a puzzle, a cryptic collection of warnings and fragmented memories. Grandfather had written about the mirrors, those cursed glass surfaces that twisted reality and trapped souls. I read his words over and over, each sentence sinking deeper into my mind. The mirrors are not what they seem, one entry warned. They reflect not just what is, but what could be, fears, regrets, lost fragments of ourselves. Beware the clown's gaze. It feeds on your terror. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. The clown, that grotesque, cracked porcelain face, had haunted my nightmares since I first glimpsed it. But now, armed with this knowledge, I felt a flicker of something else resolve. As I flipped further, a rough sketch caught my eye. It was a labyrinth of mirrors, an intricate maze with a small symbol marked deep within, a broken heart encased in glass. Beneath it, a note in my grandfather's shaky hand read, "A secret passage lies here, the heart of the curse." The room seemed to close in around me, the distant echoes of the funhouse growing louder, as if the very walls whispered warnings. My mind flashed back to a memory I hadn't thought of in years. Grandfather's stern face as he held me close one summer afternoon. "Ellie," he said softly, his eyes dark with fear, "never trust the reflections in that funhouse. They lie, they trap." His voice trembled then, a crack in his usually steady demeanor. I had dismissed it as childish superstition back then, but now it carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I closed the diary gently, the worn leather cover cool beneath my fingertips. Outside, the funhouse groaned, the structure shifting with age and perhaps something darker. A faint, chilling laugh echoed from deep within the mirrors, the clown's signature mockery. But I was no longer just the frightened girl who had wandered into this place. Grandfather's words, his warnings, and his sacrifices had become my armor. I took a deep breath and rose, the diary clutched tightly to my chest. Whatever awaited me beyond these mirrored walls, I was ready to face it, to uncover the truth, confront the shadows of my past, and perhaps, finally, break the curse that had haunted my family for generations. Steeling myself, I moved deeper into the funhouse, where every reflection might be a trap, every shadow a lurking fear. The journey ahead was uncertain, the danger real. But the fragments of the past I had uncovered were a guiding light, in the darkness a fragile hope that I could survive the nightmare within the mirrors. As I stepped forward, the air grew colder still, and the distant laughter faded into a sinister silence. The real test was only beginning. The walls, if they could be called, that were nothing but mirrors, stretching endlessly in every direction, reflecting the dimming light in fractured shards. My footsteps echoed hollowly, a lonely sound swallowed almost immediately by the labyrinth of glass. I froze as my reflection multiplied, splintering into dozens of images that moved independently of me. Some smiled with twisted, cruel grins. Others twisted their faces in silent screams. My eyes were wide and filled with a mix of fear, regret, and something I couldn't quite name. It was as if each reflection held a fragment of my childhood nightmares, my deepest regrets, and the unspoken fears I had buried beneath layers of normalcy. "Ellie," a voice whispered, soft but unmistakably my own. It echoed from every mirror, overlapping and overlapping, until it was a cacophony of whispers that wrapped around my mind like a noose. I clasped my hands over my ears, but the voices pierced through, gnawing at my resolve. Suddenly, one reflection stepped forward, a doppelganger, whose eyes were hollow voids, mouth twisted into a mocking smile. It reached out from the glass, fingers clawing like talons as it lunged toward me. I stumbled back, heart pounding, the cold sweat slicking my skin. The hole seemed to distort, the mirrors bending and warping as if alive, conspiring to trap me within their depths. "No," I whispered fiercely, shoving my hands against the glass where the doppelganger's fingers pressed. The cold was biting, unnatural, and yet I forced myself to push harder, to reclaim the space that was mine. The glass trembled, and with a shattering crack, the illusion flickered, the doppelganger retreating back into the mirror's depths. Breathing heavily, I steadied myself against the wall. But the reprieve was brief. From every mirror, the grotesque visage of the clown appeared, fractured into pieces yet unified in its malevolence. Its cracked porcelain face bore that twisted, sinister smile, hollow eyes reflecting not me, but my fears, loneliness, abandonment, helplessness. The clown's laughter echoed a dry, rasping sound that crawled beneath my skin like a swarm of insects. It wasn't just a sound. It was a force, pressing against my mind, twisting my thoughts. The mirrors around me rippled, the reflections contorting into nightmarish shapes. Shadows stretched and writhed, as if the funhouse itself breathed with dark intent. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to shut out the torment. When I opened them, my gaze fell on a small figure reflected in a nearby mirror, a younger version of me, curled up and sobbing silently. Her tears shimmered as they ran down her cheeks, but her eyes, those wide, scared eyes, held a spark of something else. Vulnerability, yes, but also a stubborn flicker of hope. "I'm still here," I whispered to the reflection, "and I won't let you win." The hall seemed to pulse with that declaration, the oppressive weight momentarily lifting as I drew strength from my own words. I took a tentative step forward, resolving to face whatever horrors the funhouse had yet to throw at me. But as I moved, the mirrors shifted again, the reflections multiplying and twisting, and I knew this was only the beginning. The clown was not just a figment of my fear, it was a predator, and I was its prey. The funhouse was a trap crafted from my own nightmares, and every shadow, every distorted reflection was a weapon wielded against me. My grip on reality wavered, but I clenched my fists, willing myself to remember who I was. Ellie Morgan, curious, brave, and broken but unyielding. I had to find the truth, to unravel the curse that bound my family and this cursed place. The shadows multiplied around me, and I stepped deeper into the hall of mirrors, ready to face the darkness that awaited. The fractured reflections whispered secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. Each one a shard of my past, a fragment of the fears I had tried to forget. The funhouse was alive with their voices, a chorus of doubt and despair, but also a challenge. To survive, I had to confront them all, not just the clown lurking in the shadows, but the pieces of myself scattered and distorted through the glass. And somewhere in this maze of shadows and mirrors, the truth about my grandfather's disappearance waited. I just had to find it before the reflection swallowed me whole. He had followed Ellie here, despite her warnings, drawn by a stubborn need to protect his childhood friend. The abandoned rides groaned softly in the wind, their skeletal frames casting long, twisted shadows across the cracked pavement like ghosts of a forgotten joy. He paused before the funhouse, its peeling sign flickering in the dying light, the warped windows reflecting 1,000 fractured images. Tommy's heart pounded as he called out, his voice breaking the eerie silence. "Ellie, please, come out of there. It's not safe." Inside, Ellie was standing just beyond the entrance, staring into a mirror that warped her reflection into something grotesque, her eyes sunken, a cruel smile twisting her lips. She shivered, the glass seeming to pulse under her fingertips as if alive. Tommy's voice echoed faintly through the distorted air, a tether to the real world. "Tommy," she whispered, her voice trembling. She pressed her palm against the cold glass, longing to reach him, to feel solid ground beneath her feet. But the funhouse was a living trap, its walls bending reality, and no matter how much she wished, she could not cross the threshold back to him. Tommy moved closer, his fingers brushing against the outside of the window, matching her gesture. For a fleeting moment, their hands seemed to almost touch, separated only by the cruel barrier of the funhouse's curse. His eyes were wide with fear and helplessness, his heart aching to do more than call to her through the glass. "Ellie, please. We can find a way out together," he pleaded, voice thick with emotion. But Ellie's reflection flickered, shifting into a twisted doppelganger that sneered and lunged at her from the glass. She stumbled back, gasping as the shadows inside the funhouse deepened. The oppressive stillness returned as Tommy reluctantly stepped away, his figure swallowed slowly by the encroaching dusk. The funhouse loomed behind him like a beast awaiting its next victim, its sinister presence a dark wound against the fading light. Ellie's laughter, distorted and hollow, echoed faintly through the cracked windows. It was a sound that carried both defiance and despair, a haunting reminder that she was growing ever more isolated within the funhouse's grasp. She was alone now, trapped between realities, forced to face the shadows and the clown's malevolent game without the comfort of her friend. Outside, Tommy looked back once more, the weight of helplessness pressing down on him. He couldn't follow her into the funhouse's shifting maze, and the distance between them felt like an insurmountable chasm. Yet in his heart, a flicker of hope remained, a belief that Ellie's strength could break through the darkness. Inside, Ellie steadied her breath, wiping a tear from her cheek as she turned away from the mirror. She whispered to herself, a mantra against the creeping fear. "I won't be trapped. I'll find the way." But as the funhouse walls seemed to close in and the distorted reflections multiplied, the weight of her solitude pressed heavier than ever. The clown's laughter wove through the air once more, a chilling reminder that the nightmare was far from over. The night deepened, and Ellie stepped further into the funhouse's heart. The boundary between friend and foe, reality and illusion, growing thinner with every step. The once vibrant painted horses were frozen mid-gallop, their chipped eyes staring blankly into the encroaching dusk. Her footsteps echoed softly against the cracked concrete, swallowed quickly by the eerie silence that had settled over the abandoned amusement park. As she passed beneath a broken string of faded carnival lights, a sudden movement caught her eye. Near a stain of peeling paint and a toppled popcorn stand stood a figure hunched over a mop bucket, his weary frame silhouetted against the dying light. An old man, dressed in a grimy janitor's uniform, his cap pulled low over a shadowed face, looked up slowly. His eyes, tired but sharp, met hers with a piercing intensity that made Ellie pause. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and gravelly, carrying the weight of years spent wandering these grounds. There was no menace in his tone, only a tired warning, but Ellie felt a shiver run down her spine. "I have to find out what happened to my grandfather," she replied cautiously, gripping the diary tighter. "He disappeared here." The janitor's gaze shifted, flickering with something unspoken, regret, fear, or perhaps memory. This place, it's not what it seems. The funhouse, especially. The mirrors, they don't just reflect. They trap. They twist. If you look too long, you'll lose more than your reflection. Ellie swallowed hard, the breath catching in her throat as the words sank in. She'd seen the mirrors, distorted, shifting, alive almost, and she'd felt the pull, the way they seemed to watch her back. But hearing it from someone else, a man who had lived with the park's secrets, made the danger feel real, immediate. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The janitor's eyes darkened. "Because I've seen what happens to those who stay too long. They become part of the funhouse, just reflections in a glass prison. You don't want to end up like them." Around them, the shadows lengthened, and the distant, distorted laughter of a clown echoed faintly, twisting the air with an unseen menace. Ellie's heart pounded as an icy breeze stirred the broken fragments of paper at her feet. "Be careful," the janitor warned one last time before turning away, his footsteps slow and deliberate as he vanished into the gathering darkness. Left alone, Ellie stared after him, her mind racing. The decaying park no longer felt like a forgotten relic of childhood joy, but a trap woven with shadows and lies. The funhouse's mirrors beckoned, promising answers but threatening a fate worse than disappearance. With trembling hands, she tightened her grip on the diary, its pages whispering secrets she was determined to unravel. Yet, beneath her resolve, a seed of doubt took root. How much of what she saw could she trust, and how long before the funhouse claimed her too? She took a deep breath, the cold air sharp in her lungs, and stepped forward toward the looming silhouette of the funhouse, where every mirror held a distorted truth waiting to be faced. As the laughter faded into silence, Ellie's shadow stretched long against the cracked pavement, merging with the darkness that awaited her inside the funhouse's warped walls. Each mirror I passed seemed less a mere surface and more a gateway, a window into horrors I was only beginning to comprehend. The distorted images stared back at me, not as I was, but as I feared I might become. My breath caught, fogging the glass, but the reflections remained sharp, unyielding in their sinister clarity. I stopped before a tall, ornate mirror framed in cracked, faded gold. My reflection trembled, morphing before my eyes into a frightened child me, but smaller, trembling, eyes wide with a terror I thought I had buried long ago. The flickering lights overhead cast dancing shadows across the glass, distorting the room and filling the silence with the faint, haunting echo of a clown's laughter. It was a sound that wormed into my bones, cold and mocking. "Ellie." A whisper brushed against my ear, so soft I thought I imagined it. But then the glass rippled like water, and from within the mirror, a small hand pressed against the surface. The reflection of my younger self reached out, her lips moving without sound, whispering fears I barely recognized, forgotten nightmares, silent regrets. The glass between us cracked, fracturing her image into jagged shards that glimmered with the cold light. I stumbled back, heart pounding, the air thick with a suffocating dread. The mirrors weren't just reflecting. They were alive with memories, with pain, with trapped souls. Behind me, a movement caught my eye. The clown, its cracked porcelain face twisted into a grotesque grin, hovered just beyond the edge of the mirror's frame. Its hollow eyes seemed to pierce through me, reflecting not only my fear but amplifying it, feeding on the terror. The walls pulsed with an unnatural glow, bending and warping the space until I felt I might slip through the floor into some nightmarish abyss. "You can't hide," the clown's voice echoed around me, a chilling rasp that seemed to come from every mirrored surface. "Not here, not ever." I clenched my fists, fighting the wave of panic that threatened to flood my mind. Just as despair began to take root, another reflection shimmered into view, a pale, translucent figure with long flowing hair and sorrowful eyes. Mara, her presence was a fragile beacon in the suffocating darkness. "Remember who you are," she whispered, her voice like a breeze through dead leaves. "The mirrors lie, but your heart is real." Her words anchored me as the funhouse trembled, the fractured reflections swirling into a chaotic storm around me. I forced myself to focus, to see past the illusions. If the mirrors were prisons, then I had to find the key, something to shatter the glass and free the souls trapped within. But with every step forward, the clown's laughter grew louder, more insistent. The distorted versions of myself multiplied, each one a twisted embodiment of my fear's abandonment, failure, loneliness. They lunged from the glass, their screams and sobs merging into a deafening chorus that threatened to drown out my reason. I fell to my knees, hands pressed against the cold floor, fighting the urge to surrender. "I'm not afraid," I whispered, though my voice trembled. "I won't be your prisoner." The mirrors cracked again, shards glittering like broken stars, and for a fleeting moment, the clown faltered. I seized the chance, pushing myself up and sprinting toward the maze's heart, where Mara had said the answers lay. But even as I ran, I knew this was only the beginning. The funhouse was alive, hungry, and the reflections were watching, waiting, and so was the clown. My reflection in the mirror twisted into a cruel sneer, mocking me, daring me to face the darkness within. I squared my shoulders, gripping the diary tightly. Whatever nightmares awaited, I would meet them head on. Because if I didn't, I would be lost forever, trapped in the funhouse's shattered glass. The echo of that terrible laughter chased me onward, a reminder that fear was both my enemy and the key to my survival. I pressed forward into the heart of the nightmare. The mirrors watched, and I would not break. As the laughter faded into a whisper, I glanced back just once and caught Mara's pale smile fading into the shadows. Hope, fragile but real, flickered in the darkness. I wasn't alone, yet the walls around us twisted and shimmered, reflecting not just physical forms but memories and shadows I struggled to grasp. Mara's presence was a fragile thread of warmth within the cold void, and I clung to it like a lifeline. "You want to know how I came to be trapped here?" Mara whispered, her voice a soft echo that seemed to ripple through the glass. "It wasn't always like this. Once, I was part of the carnival's heart, a performer like many others, bright and full of life." The mirrors trembled as she spoke, images flickering across their surface. A girl laughing under the bright lights of the big top, her smile wide and genuine, but the joy twisted swiftly, contorting into terror as the scene shifted to chaos and screams. The sound of shattering glass blending with a distant, haunting laughter. "There was an accident," Mara continued, her gaze distant. "A night when the funhouse's magic turned cruel. The mirrors, what should have reflected joy, became traps. They shattered and reassembled, capturing more than images, souls, hopes, memories, trapped within endless reflections." I swallowed hard, the weight of her story settling over me. The funhouse was no mere relic of faded amusement. It was a prison built from sorrow and fear. Mara's translucent form flickered, her eyes filled with a grief so profound it seemed to seep from the very glass around us. "I tried to escape," she said, a flicker of desperation breaking through her calm exterior. "But every reflection I chased led me deeper into the maze. The clown's the one who feeds on fear and snared me. And now I linger, caught between worlds, hoping someone will break the curse." A shiver ran down my spine. Mara's story was not just a tale of what was a warning. Every step I took, every mirror I faced, could become my tomb if I faltered. But you, Mara said softly, reaching out a ghostly hand that passed through my cheek, you carry the strength I lost. Your grandfather's diary, your courage, they might be the keys. I nodded, the resolve burning brighter within me. I won't let this place claim me like it did you. Her form began to fade, the sorrowful light dimming into the fractured reflections. Be careful, Ellie. The funhouse is alive with memories and lies. Trust your heart, but beware the mirror's deceit. Left alone in the oppressive silence, I pressed my palm against the cold glass, feeling the faint pulse of trapped souls beneath the surface. Mara's story etched itself into my mind, a reminder of what was at stake. The funhouse was more than distorted reflections. It was a living nightmare, fueled by pain and fear. I took a deep breath, steadying myself against the rising tide of dread. The path ahead was uncertain, shadowed by the clown's malevolent presence, but I had to press on. For my grandfather, for Mara, for the truth buried within these broken mirrors. The funhouse seemed to pulse around me, the distorted reflections shifting with new urgency. Somewhere in this maze of glass and shadows lay the secret to ending the curse and to finally escaping the nightmare that had ensnared so many before me. As I moved forward, Mara's haunting tale lingered, a spectral echo pushing me onward. Every step deeper into the funhouse was a step closer to the truth, but also a step deeper into darkness. I could feel it pressing in whispering, mocking, waiting. I steeled my nerves and whispered into the silence, I'm coming. And with that, I plunged further into the labyrinth, the funhouse's twisted reflections swallowing me whole.